Namaste and welcome to this talk in our ongoing series at Sri Aurobindo Society, which is titled Reawakening the Bharat Shakti Toward an Indian Renaissance. This series is hosted by the vertical of Sri Aurobindo Society, AuroBharati, which focuses on studies and research in Indian culture. And I am a senior academic mentor at AuroBharati. My name is Dr. Beloo Mehra, and I'm joined here by my colleagues Vishwajita and Ram, as well as one of our volunteers, Balaji, who was quite instrumental in making this event happen. So we are really happy to see you all here. The events that we've been hosting under this series as part of our ongoing celebrations of 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo and 75th year of India's independence. So these events are in many ways inspired by the rich and wide-ranging content that we had featured in our exhibition on Bharat Shakti that was displayed at Sri Aurobindo Ashram Exhibition Hall. And that's where Balaji and I started talking about a series of events, particularly talks, featured around, which will kind of go deeper into some of the content that was featured there. And this talk also, the topic for this talk also came as a result of that. So one of the themes that we explored there was about the spiritual basis of Indian art. And another theme was about the reach and influence of Indian culture and civilization on rest of the world. So the special lecture that we are hosting today with Dr. Shashibala as our esteemed guest speaker beautifully brings together these two themes. And interestingly, just this morning, I was rereading the 5 dreams of Sri Aurobindo that he had spoken of in his message to the nation on 15th August 1947. And the second dream that there he speaks about is for the resurgence of peoples of Asia and her return to her great role in the progress of human civilization. And he adds that there, again, India has very important role to play with a very unique energy and ability that only India can provide. And then it sort of started, it made me think about, as I was thinking about our topic today, the spiritual foundations of arts in Asia. I also remembered at one place Sri Aurobindo speaking about the triune civilization of Asia, the triune nature of Asian civilization, where he says that on one side we have a predominatingly spiritual, complex, and meditative nature of civilization in India. The other one is predominatingly vital, emotional, active, and simplistic in the regions of Hindu Kush and Mesopotamia. And the third one is predominatingly intellectual, mechanical, and organized in the Mongolian empires. But then he adds something very profound. And he said all these three had their widely separate spirit and traditions, but one basis of spirituality, common tendencies, and the amazing commerce of art, ideas, and information that was happening in these three these three sub-civilizations within the Asian civilization, that helped preserve the fundamental unity of Asia. So we are really looking forward to hearing from our esteemed speaker, Dr. Shashibala, today, her insights into how this fundamental unity of Asia also expressed through its rich and diverse artistic traditions, or rather, in what ways art served as a way to unite Asia. I'm sure there will be a lot more themes that we will see highlighted in her presentation today. So before I invite our guest speaker, let me give a brief introduction of Dr. Shashibala, who is a well-known name to almost every student and lover of Indian culture. Dr. Shashibala is presently the Dean of K.M. Munshi Center for Indology and holds the Acharya Raghuveer Chair at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Delhi. She specializes in India's cultural contributions to the world, Sanskrit in Global Perspective, History of Arts, Buddhism, and cross-cultural connections across political boundaries. She is the recipient of the highest civilian state award of Mongolia, Order of Polar Star. She has authored 25 books and more than 110 research papers. She has worked in the past in prestigious positions of visiting professor at National Museum Institute, guest professor at Bristol and Ural Federal Universities, and she's been a consultant at the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts. She's also held positions of president of the Bharat Chapter of International Council of Cultural Studies. She's been a research professor and executive member at International Academy of Indian Culture, member of Anusandhan Prakoshtha, Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal, and she's also the founding member of International Buddhist Confederation. There is a lot more that can be said about Dr. Shashibala, but I know we would rather listen and, from her and get her perspective on this amazing topic that she has chosen for today's presentation, the spiritual foundations of arts in Asia. So Dr. Shashibala, welcome, and the forum is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Beloo, for a sweet introduction and giving an entry point to the whole talk today. And I wish there will be more interaction at the end of the talk. And I welcome all the esteemed members of the family of Aurobindo Ashram, all dear friends, scholars, and all the enthusiasts who want to discover, rediscover, and re-establish the Indian knowledge systems. So, we are all co-pilgrims on the path of revisiting our past that was so glorious. Today, many people are talking about ancient times, modernity, because the young generation is so confused, what should they do? So they need a clear vision to understand. And from where the clear vision will be given, we have to study our gurus, our acharyas, our thinkers, our visionaries who have bequeathed such a grand heritage to us. What is happening today? Let me just say a few words about it. Today, the world is standing at the threshold, looking forth. The humanity is forced to look back. What they want? They want fulfillment of their hopes. They want to touch the horizons. They have their own visions. They have their thought about Shangri-Las. But everything is shivering under the pressures, under the politically hungry power struggle for gaining new territories, economic and muscle power, wars are going on, weapons of destruction. You can see every day there are so much is happening, how families are shattered, how much suffering is there because we have lost the spiritual path. The spiritual path, it's a software. That is flashing up in the minds of many, not only Indian, but all over the world. We have friends almost all over the world, they ask these questions. So pondering over existence of local and regional cultures versus globalization, what is happening? To understand India, one must know the philosophy of the spiritual path. Sometimes it cannot be taught, it has to be realized. Mainly, when we look at the world, mainly there are two types of cultures. Indian culture and civilization is evolved on the banks of the rivers by the rishis, by the visionaries, by the munis, by the gurus, by the acharyas. Sitting under the pure blue sky, birds are chirping, there is happiness all around. There is abundance all around. They don't have to destroy anything. They don't have to demean anything to rise. The Vedic rishis followed the path of tapa and tyaga. Their path was not the path of today that we have, of demeaning others. So they had the purity of mind. They nurtured selfless love, the infinite compassion to free men and nations from hatred, from fear and insecurity of existence that we are having today. Evolution of the human life has to be on the path of becoming divine. We'll come to it slowly. Spirituality does not mean only to liberate, but to transform a human being, making him capable of creating a beautiful world. That is the main requirement today. We need spirituality to understand, to assure, to get the essence of awakening the self, perceiving the inner reality of ourselves. Physicality has to move on towards spirituality. Knowledge of the infinite, yearning to attain it, and finally becoming one with the ultimate, with the most powerful, the source, Paramatma. To elevate one's consciousness is to perceive oneness of all. Yeah, I would like to start from a quote from Maharishi Aurobindo. Spirituality is indeed the master key of the Indian mind. The sense is native to India. India has, I'm sorry, it's turned to that side. Just let me just adjust it.
It's coming clearly.
Yeah, the highest aim of the aesthetics is the, actually it's all going to the side, just a minute. Yeah, now it's better. So spirituality is indeed the master key of the Indian mind. The sense of the infinite is native to India, saw from the beginning. The highest aim of aesthetics is to find the divine through beauty. And Indian authors, Indian visionaries, they have always appreciated an artist. Sahitya Sangeeta Kala Vihina Sakshat Pashu Puch Vishanahina. It says that if one is not efficient in any of the arts, whether it's literature, whether it's music, whether it's art, he's like an animal. So according to, again, I would say, according to Maharishi Aurobindo, I have quoted here, the first and the lowest use of art is purely aesthetics. The second is the intellectual and educative. And the third and the highest is spiritual. And that is what we are going to talk today. What nature is, what man is, what God is, can be triumphantly revealed on stone and canvas. And now we will see how it has been done there. In so many countries, mostly all over Asia. You see, man has always thought of giving a visual form to what he sees, what he feels. He has always tried to visualize the world, and the earliest form of art that we find is the rock art. It includes pictograph, engravings, petroglyphs, geoglyphs, etc. So what have they depicted there on different sites that are discovered? They are almost animals, tools, human activities. So this is what was there in hand with these people long, thousands of years ago. When we talk about Asia, what we find is in Asian countries, especially in Southeast Asian country, mainly this is the Dongsong culture. These mainly Dongsong drums have been discovered that reflect a sea-oriented society. So I'm not going into the details, but there are scenes featuring boats, warriors, and all these things. Next, I would just like to touch upon the tomb culture. Life, as again I'm quoting from Maharishi Aurobindo, life cannot be rightly seen in the soul, light cannot be perfectly lived in the soul power of its externalities. But this is what was happening. And the best, the most, what we find is in the tombs in China. You can see the huge tombs that are discovered. This is what I'm showing is the tomb of the Qingji Shuangdi, the most powerful emperor of China. For them, power was the ultimate reality. We could there what kind of artifacts are discovered. I'm just touching upon and moving on so that we have an idea that what kind of change was brought by India into the lives of the people. What kind of artifacts were they producing before, and what kind of artifacts are they have they been producing over the last 2,000 years? Unfortunately, in India, there is no this chapter, the glorious pages, the golden history of India is not much taught. Again, I would quote from Maharishi Aurobindo because this talk is more for the Aurobindo ashram, for the devotees, for the scholars that are associated to it. Then what that calm audacity of our intuition, which knew no fear, no littleness, and shrank from no act, whether of spiritual or intellectual, ethical or vital courage. She declared that there was none of these things which man could attain if he trained his will and knowledge. He could conquer these ranges of mind, become the spirit, become the God, become one with God, become the ineffable Brahman. And this is what happened with Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha was just a monk. What was his belongings? All over the world, especially in China, people were so amazed by his life that how a monk with a begging bowl and nothing else can be such an effulgent personality that the entire world is looking towards him. Here, what you are looking at there is one of the relics from China that were taken by Emperor Ashoka himself. There are many relics that were preserved in the monasteries in China, but in other parts of the world also, especially in Asia. But many of them are not now known, but some are known. So again, I quote from Maharishi Aurobindo, arise, transcend thyself, thou art man, and the whole nature of man is to become more than himself. This is what Lord Buddha did. And we would all agree with this. How this message, how this spirituality reached all these countries. There was no diplomacy. Today we talk about cultural diplomacy, trade diplomacy, political diplomacy, but at that time there was no diplomacy. There was just, what were they doing was just surrendering their lives for the upliftment of the people of distant lands whom they did not know. They did not know the land, they did not have proper food to eat, they did not know whom they are going to meet, they did not know their languages. So again, I'm quoting from Maharishi Aurobindo, she means India. India saw too that man has the power of exceeding himself, of becoming himself more entirely or profoundly than what he is. So here I'm just giving you just three acharyas I'm showing you, Kumarajiva, Bodhidharma, and Atisha. Kumarajiva was all of them have contributed immensely to the upliftment, to the cultural and civilizational advancement of the world, dedicating their lives, sacrificing their lives. Kumarajiva was taken away as war booty by the Chinese, sending us an army of 70,000 soldiers to capture him. You know about Bodhidharma from Kanchipuram, a prince who renounced his princely life and just traveled to the distant lands. And today he is a figure who has contributed immensely to not only the cultural and civilizational, but even to the industrial development of these countries. I'm not going into the details of the philosophy of dhyana, the Zen that is called in Japan, Chan in Chinese, Song in Korea. The Acharya Atisha, when he was invited again and again by the Tibetan king, he was so desperate to go, but that time the situation in the country was very bad because of the foreign invasions. Monasteries were being destroyed, universities were being destroyed. He prayed to goddess Tara. What should he do? She appeared and she said, if you go, you will lose. If you stay here, you will live a life of 92 years. But if you go to Tibet, you will live a life of 72 years. So he embraced living a life, cutting it short just for spreading the message of the acharyas, of the great masters. Arise, transcend thyself, thou art man, and the whole nature of man is to become more than himself. This is what done by not only the acharyas, but the disciples of the Buddha, but the many monks who followed the path of the Buddha. In between, you can see, this is one acharya. He was Chinese, his name is Ganjin, and he was invited by the Japanese emperor Shomu to be initiated. The empress was also waiting for him. He tried 12 times, and by the time he reached Japan from China, he was blind. So you can see how much sacrifice is there to spread the message, to spread the spiritual path of India to the world. Entire consciousness is confined within organism. This imprisonment has to be broken. But how will you do it without knowing anything? So thousands of texts of India written in Sanskrit were translated into the foreign languages. See, this is just a picture, just a photograph of the people working in a monastery where texts were translated and copied for distributing. More than 5,000 Sanskrit texts, sacred and secular sciences, both are translated into Tibetan and Mongolian. More than 3,000 Sanskrit texts were translated into Chinese, and from there they went to Korea and Japan and other countries. And today, till today, they have preserved in the form of Tripitaka, and in Tibet and Mongolia, they are called Kanjur and Tanjur. Other texts that are studied all over Asia, especially Southeast Asia, you can see they have studied the Indian texts on spirituality. They have copied them. They have written their own texts also. They were so well versed in Sanskrit. They were so well versed into the philosophy, and till date, they are writing on the palm leaves. They are studying them, copying them. Now, what happened once these texts reached there? Once these acharyas reached there, they were building huge temples. A temple is a place where man he meets the divinity. It is a place, it is a heaven on earth. It is a meeting place. So huge temple complexes were built, not again as for representing the architectural beauty, but they have a whole philosophy behind it, and that philosophy is of transcendence in life, going higher and higher and higher, going up and up and up, and meeting the ultimate force. The meeting of man of God must always mean a penetration of entry into the divine, into the human, into the self-emergence of man is in the divinity. A man, this 5 feet body has all the good and the bad qualities. We in ourselves, everybody has animality. Everybody has the qualities of a demon. Everybody has the qualities of a pishach, of a hungry ghost, but everybody is a human being. The word man comes from the Sanskrit root man. Man means one who can think. So humanity also is a word made from man. So humanity has to be on the path of self-emergence. When you enter a temple, then it is away from the din of the world, away from the noise of the world. You can focus there, you can concentrate there, you can meditate there, you can have the energy, the divine energy there. So these centers are meant for offering prayers, to surrendering the self, and a lot more. So once these are our Indian temples were introduced, our temple architecture was introduced into these countries. For example, the Buddhists who were coming to the shores of Mother India, they were so impressed by the sites of the connected to Buddha. So Mahabodhi temple was one of the major source of inspiration for many countries and many temples. So many temples are built on following the styles of the Mahabodhi temple. Here I'm just showing you Chinese architecture. In China, the same radical is used for a palace and for a administrative officer, for a government office. Can you please mute somebody? There is some disturbance. Can you please get it? So in China, the temple architecture developed in many ways. So that was followed by the Koreans and also by the Japanese, but they have adopted other styles also. So I'm showing you the main style of a temple that looks like a palace, because there was no difference between a palace and a government office and a religious and a center, a place, a temple or a monastery. This is Horyuji Monastery. First, you can see the outer corridor. When in Japan they build a temple or a monastery, they erect an outside wall, what you can see here, and inside it is open. It's a corridor here, you can see. And when you enter inside, this is the oldest standing Japanese temple that was built by Prince Shotoku Taishi for upliftment of the country, for consolidation of the country. And the name Horyuji means Dharma Vardhana Mahavihara. So number of temples were built over the centuries. Even today, I got a report from Japan that out of 75,000 temples in Japan, 65,000 are based on the philosophy of the texts that were translated by the monk scholar Kumarajiva. This is a palatial style, but there is another style which is very simple. The roof is thatched, inside it's simple, and outside there is a rock garden. It's made of pebbles, white pebbles. It looks like it's like an ocean of life, where you have huge stumbling blocks, and inside it's all clean, not a speck of dirt can be seen. It's so simple, because the Zen philosophy, the philosophy of dhyana, believed in there are many, actually there are 7 principles. I don't have time to go into the details, but it's all empty. They believe in Shunyata and how they represent Shunyata. Again, I'm giving you a quote from Maharishi Aurobindo. The first penetration of our true teaching is nothing that can be taught. And that goes with the philosophy of Zen, dhyana, because we cannot teach dhyana. It is a matter of realization. And that is why if you look at the story of Bodhidharma, that when he met a Chinese emperor, the first question that the emperor asked him, that which are the texts that we should translate. Bodhidharma had taken the philosophy of dhyana, and he said, no, there is nothing in the text. So the Chinese emperor was so angry, and Bodhidharma had to immediately leave the palace. And you will see in some paintings that he is crossing a river on the piece of a reed. So he had to leave immediately because it didn't match what the emperor was thinking. Because for them, because they had taken a new path. Now for them, the path was of compassion, of ahimsa, of serving the people, of doing things that could be for welfare of the nation. Because before that, what they had only to show was the political part. With Zen, very different. There are thousands and thousands of paintings all over Asia, but I'm showing you just one here. That is a Zen painting. And again, a quote from Maharishi Aurobindo: the true knowledge is not attained by thinking. It is what you are, and it is what you become. And here in this painting, what you can see, just first read this quote. But she, means India, saw that the physical does not get its full sense until it stands in the right relation to the supra-physical. She saw the complexity of the universe could not be explained in the present terms of man or seen by his superficial sight, that there were other powers behind, other powers within man himself, of which he is normally unaware, that he is conscious only of a small part of himself, that the visible always surrounds the visible, the supra-sensible, the sensible, even as infinity, always surround the finite. Now I will show you how this quote goes with this painting. See, here you can see huge rocks and a path going up. Simple path, very small number of strokes, but come below, come to the corner, and there you can see a tiny hut of a monk. And the monk is there. And what he looks at the immensity of nature. He looks at this nature, that what he is a tiny part of the cosmos. So there is why one should be so full of ego. I am this, I am that. He's nothing. So when you compare it. So, and what is the path? The path goes up and up and up and up, and the rest is left for our imagination, as is done in almost all the Zen paintings, that just something is said to show there is so much behind. So something we are, and there is an immensity there is infinite force, and we are a small particle of that force. Now, what kind of impact Zen philosophy had on the lives of the people? Look at the cherry blossoms. Cherry blossoms became a important, very popular theme among the Zen people, because this life is eternal. We should not have ego. We should not boast what we are and what we will be and what we want to be. This life is just eternal. Like cherry blossoms, they bloom for just very small period of time. And in Japan, even today, people go to arrange parties. There are predictions when will there be cherry blossoms, because there are around less than 2 weeks of time to enjoy that. And this is not just an enjoyment, but it is a message for the life of the people to free themselves from it. When you enter a temple or a monastery, what you see, when you look at the divine beings, look at the faces. When I was traveling in China, entering one after the other, the monasteries beautifully decorated. I was looking at the statues. I was looking into the eyes. Then I composed a small poem, and the theme was look into the eyes, how they are looking at you. So we have a message from the eyes of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, how compassionate they are, how loving they are, how caring they are. And this is what gave a sense of devotion. This sense of devotion is the path, is the spiritual path of India and all over Asia. People became followers, bhakta of Lord Buddha. Thousands and thousands of images in hundreds of forms of Buddha and Bodhisattvas are created. Most beautiful forms, because a sacred art has to be beautiful, unless one cannot be inspired by it. There is a whole, I cannot say how many such, they are not just sculptures, they are not just paintings, but they all portray a message to the humanity, how we have to be. We have to learn from there. Dhyana, sitting in meditation for hours, people have done for days and even months. So again, here is a quote from Sri Aurobindo. India saw the myriad gods, and beyond God, his own ineffable eternity. She saw that there are ranges of life beyond our present life, ranges of mind beyond our present mind, and above these she saw splendors of spirit. So that gave a passage, that gave a smooth passage to the, they were not just artists, they were devotees. They were not just skilled people. They had so much of talent. They had so much of... Oh, what happened? What happened?
Just a minute. Somebody has started sharing their screen. Raj Bahadurji, can you please stop your screen sharing? Please stop your screen sharing.
Yeah.
Raj Bahadur Sharma ji, can you please stop sharing your screen? Just on the top.
Administrator may bail him out of this.
Sorry?
The member who is trying to share, if you can just disengage him from the region, then the things will be normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Shall I start share my screen again?
Yes, please. Sorry about that.
So I was on this slide. You see, hundreds and thousands of forms of deities are created, but they are transformed and assimilated into the pantheon, into the Buddhist pantheon, into their own pantheon. It has happened all over Asia. Buddhism is not just one form of Buddhism. If you go to Japan, if you go to China, if you go to Mongolia or Tibet or Thailand or Indonesia or Vietnam, you will see different type of Buddhism there. In Theravada countries, they believe in just one Buddha. But in Mahayan countries, they have created hundreds and hundreds of gods and goddesses, and they are all taken from India. Here, what you will not believe it, that this is goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmi in India is so different from a Japanese Lakshmi. Here you will see goddess Lakshmi showering gold coins. But when it is made by a Japanese, she is holding a Chintamani jewel, because it is the wish granting jewel according to the Buddhism. The clothes that she is wearing, it's all local. Look at the features, look at the dress, look at the crowns, everything. But the main idea is to worship the purity of power. There are three kinds of powers that we worship in India. One is the goddess of power, that is the political and administrative power, that is goddess Durga. Second is the financial power, that is goddess Lakshmi. And the third is goddess of intellect, that is the goddess of Saraswati. So again, I'm not going into the details. So what kind? See the difference between building a monastery in China, in Japan, I'm not showing you from India, but from other countries. And this is from Tibet. How they are building different kinds. This is from Burma. This is again from Burma. You see, when the Indian philosophy went there, they learned the first time service, surrendering the self, sacrificing the self. This is a Japanese monastery. This is Byodo Inn. Here, what I want to show you is that there is a water body. In many of the temples in Asia, you will see there is a water body around the temple or near the temple, adjoining it, because according to Indian spirituality, one has to cross the Bhav Sagara, the ocean of existence, before reaching the final stage, before meeting the divine. So here you have to cross this, or there are other types also. Here I'm showing you, this is called Golden Temple of Japan, Kinkakuji, and this is built in a pond like the Golden Temple in Amritsar, representing Sar, means Sarovar. It's a pond, it's a ocean. So this is from Korea. Again, you will see similarity and dissimilarities. This was made, the name of the temple is Fulgutsa, and it was built in 751. Our connections with Korea, according to the historical facts, archaeological facts, we started our connections with Korea in 1st century AD, 45 AD, when the Ayodhya, the princess from Ayodhya was, she married to a prince of Korea, and till today, all those Koreans who hold this, the name Kim, they accept that they are descendants of the princess of Ayodhya. This is another temple from Korea. It is so different from the other. This is Sokuram. This is another. So you can see the difference everywhere. This is the largest Buddhist temple, Buddhist monument. People are confused what to call it, because it is so different from a temple. It is so different from a monastery. It is so different from a stupa. It's an intermingling of so many things into one complex. And there are so many questions. I have been to Borobudur so many times, but each time I return with more questions than answers. So the walls of these, this is a scene from the walls of Borobudur. All over the walls of the Borobudur are the messages for humanity. These are taken from the life of the Buddha or Avadanas, or there are many different types of jatakas and other things that are the source for engraving the panels on the walls of Borobudur. Here Buddha is walking towards the Niranjana river. This is a dancing scene. Now I'm come to Tibet. You see, after, again, I would like to show you again, this is Borobudur, and now I'm coming to Gyantse Stupa. The philosophy of Gyantse Stupa and Borobudur is the same. And inside Gyantse, again, you can see these are stepped galleries here. In Borobudur also, there are stepped galleries here. One has to go up and up and up, going around in all the galleries, 5 galleries here, walking up one by one and going around. And Gyantse also. But in Gyantse, the statue, the paintings that are inside the walls, while in Borobudur, they are outside, they are on the panels. Inside, you can see beautiful images. This is one of them of Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is said to be the most compassionate bodhisattva. And here you can see a scene from one of the cave complexes. These countries did not only build monasteries, stupas, and temples, but also built cave complexes. And they are so large and there are so many. I'm just giving you just one example and moving on. Just in one cave complex, that is Dunhuang, there is a 75 kilometers of wall surface that is covered with the paintings depicting the philosophy of the Buddhist texts. And how beautifully they intermingle with the statues in front. Amitabha is the savior of humanity, of all levels of humanity. There are many grades that are depicted in the mandalas. People can be of lower status intellectually or middle or higher, and there are 9 levels actually, but Amitabha is said to be a savior of all of them. And even today, when the people are suffering, they have any kind of problem, they go to temples and worship Amitabha. They do the japa, they do circumambulation, and they chant the Amitabha Sutra. The monasteries, the temples, they resound with the sounds of their chants. Stupas, how many kinds of stupas are built all over Asia? So we cannot go into the details, just showing you a few here. See how different they are, because they preserve the relics of the Buddhist monks and all. This is another kind of stupa which was built by an emperor. It was built on such an angle that he could see from his room in the palace. And here is written a Sanskrit seed syllable, and again you can see the same philosophy here, that you are going up and up and up, and finally you are merging with the ultimate. Here you can see another kind of stupa. It is called pagoda. This is from Japan. It is 5-story. These rings are similar here, 13 rings, but these are 5-story. Why? Because this body is made up of 5 fundamental elements of nature, and finally after death, it is going to be one with nature, one with the same 5 fundamental elements, which are the source of this life. So there is no question of boasting or having ego. When you enter a temple, then the temple has to be protected, because it is a place of spirituality, of transcendence, of learning, of knowledge, of enlightenment, and so on. So what they do, they have 2 kinds of guardian deities. One, there is a pair that you can see in India also, that when you enter a temple, there are 2 huge size guardians standing on the 2 sides. This is to protect the holy people. And in Japan, or also in India, of course, it has gone from India, there are a group of 4 guardian kings. They are called divine guardian kings, for the protection of the nation, because they are taken from a sutra that is called Suvarna Prabhasa Sutra. And Suvarna Prabhasa Sutra says that they are meant for the protection of the nation in all the directions. So here they are standing in full of anger, awe-inspiring. See, look at his face, and then look at the face of the other. This is Indra, and the other side is Brahma. You can't see, but I'm showing you another figure. Look at the serenity of the pose. This is Chintamani Chakra Avalokiteshwar. This was worshipped by a number of kings for sanctifying the state. Now I'm coming to some, just a few examples from Hindu temples. Hindu temples are also built even before Buddhist temples. We have discovered a huge number of Hindu deities from, especially from Southeast Asia. Here you can see one. This is of Vishnu from Myanmar, and now you can see how king and the queen are blessed by. They are receiving the blessings of Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu here is with goddess Lakshmi. And here you can see another form of Lakshmi, that is Gaj Lakshmi. It is from a temple, Bante Sri from Cambodia. You can see how beautifully they have decorated by engraving the panels from or based on the themes taken from the texts that they had taken from India. There are a number of themes taken from Ramayana, from Mahabharata, and according to my recent research, even the Angkor Wat, it's such a famous temple, the largest Vishnu temple all over the world, and it is so famous. And according to my research, the philosophy of this Angkor Wat is based on Manusmriti. Another is Lord Rama. Lord Rama, because they worship Vishnu, because Vishnu is the sustainer of the world, and Lord Rama is the sustainer. He's an incarnation of Vishnu. So in Thailand, all the kings of the Chakri dynasties adopt the title of Lord Rama after becoming a king. The last king was Bhumi Bal Atulyatej. Bhumi, they call it, the pronunciation is different. And now there is the 10th Rama who is ruling, and scenes from Ramayana are taken to decorate the walls to inspire people, to give them a message. Here is Lord Rama's, Lakshmana and Sita going to the forest. Here is a fight between Bali and Sugriva. So like this, you can go on and on from temple to temple, from country to country, to discover the ancient heritage of India, how it has been absorbed, how it has been internalized by so many countries. Here you can see just a picture of a cave complex. It's Kizil. So much of Kizil has fallen down. There were more than hundreds of these. These are hundreds of caves. In this, you will see like holes, but they are huge caves. And inside, they are beautifully decorated. And although they are destroyed, all over Xinjiang region, in all the empires, the small kingdoms on the Silk Route, they were all destroyed. The monasteries were destroyed. The paintings, everything was destroyed, but still whatever is remaining there, they still are preserving it so well. Now I come to the message that inside the caves, what is painted and what kind of messages do we find. This picture you can look at is from a sutra, from a text that is, the name is Vimal Kirti Nirdesha. I cannot tell you the whole story here because we don't have so much of time, but this is a bodhisattva who is showering food to humanity because we are always hungry. And he poured so much of food that it flooded. The entire hall was flooded and people said, no, we don't want so much. This is the final nirvana of the Buddha, and people still worship him in many forms. As I said you, this is from Thailand. Buddha is transcending, is coming down from the Tristrincha heaven to meet his mother. And he's here, you can see Saraswati, and there are other gods receiving Lord Buddha. Buddha was so much venerated. But you see, when you look at the life of the Buddha, people, when he was meditating so hard, so far, and he had even turned, it was like a skeleton, and it was difficult for him to survive. But people were not admitting that he had done so much of tapasya and he is an enlightened being. Then he prayed to Goddess Earth Please, you are the only witness. Now she is squeezing her hair because when you do a sankalpa, then you use water in your hand. So she says that you have done so much of sankalp that my hair is so wet that she is squeezing her hair. Saraswati from Tibet. See how different she is from Indian Saraswati. This is another form of Lakshmi, how different she is. This is all the way they have transformed the Hindu gods and goddesses. This is Vishnu. This is Vishnu from Pala, and this is Vishnu from Thailand. From Thailand, from very early period, 3rd, 4th century, we start having getting statues of Vishnu. This is Shiva. This is Shiva from Thailand. This is Shiva from Indonesia. This is Shiva Nataraja. Whenever there is Shiva, we think about Nataraja because there is a cycle of life. There's a life cycle that has to go on and on and on. And this is Nataraja who does that. This is a Nataraja from Tanjore from 13th century, and this is Nataraja from Cambodia. This is Shivalinga. Wherever Indian culture went, the worship, they started worshipping the way we were doing Shivlingas. So many huge Shivlingas are discovered in Cambodia, in Indonesia, and other places, especially in Cambodia and Indonesia, because many of the kings, when they became kings, at the time of their Rajya Abhishek, a special temple was built. And they were given a special title, and this temple was, and also special statues were made that are called Deva Raja Pratimas, because the Raja in the form of a Deva is sculpted or painted. On the other side is Ganesha from Mongolia, a dancing Ganesha. There are many forms of Ganesha, and some of the forms of Ganesha that I have seen in Japan are not even seen in India. See, this is Uma Maheshwar. I have taken these photographs from a museum in Brussels. They are from 10th century, from Pala dynasty. Yes. I was talking about Shadgati, that we have 6 types, 6 levels of existence in all of us. Inside us, we have the qualities of animals, and from the hungry ghost to the Deva. So one can be a Deva in his life by the work, by what he does, by the activities that he does. So action is more important. When you enter a Tibetan or a Mongol monastery, outside the wall, you will see this kind of Shadgati Chakra. And I was talking about the huge statues standing outside to protect the Dharma. And when you go inside, then you look at the beauty, look at the compassion, people so many because they don't understand, so they have so many questions about having 4 hands or 16. They said how ugly this is. Some people even go to that extent to say, because they don't understand that they are not human beings. We are the people who have given them these anthropomorphic forms. They are different kinds of Shaktis. And all these Shaktis that each deity has, the energies that are combined into one, and to represent those Shaktis. So we have philosophically, symbolically done this. So from the grasslands of Mongolia, from the deserts of Central Asia to the isles of Indonesia, you can see the presence of spirituality of India, and the spiritual messages are portrayed through sculptures and paintings. Here is a bodhisattva from Gandhara. So much has been destroyed, but still whatever has been preserved. What this bodhisattva is doing, this is giving compassion. He's showering nectar, he's sprinkling nectar on the humanity here. Humanity is like a small child, and these forms, this is another bodhisattva that is from Japan I'm showing, and they're all taken from India. The ideas, the philosophy behind is all taken from India. I was talking about Devaraja Pratimas. The same has been done in Japan, in many countries, in China, all over. So here is a portrait statue of an empress in Japan. And this is Buddha coming down as a savior. When a human being is suffering, then he needs solace. He should know that wherever, suppose he is on a deathbed, then he knows some kind of solace, that wherever he is going, there is all peace, there is all compassion, there is all beauty, there is all joy. So here Buddha is coming down to receive the soul of a dying person, and all around are dancing and playing music, bodhisattvas. This kind of paintings were hung, and still they are doing, although it's very expensive, but still people are doing to hang this kind of paintings in front of the deathbed of a person. So Buddha is a savior, has been given many forms. Not only Buddha, but even the monks, the acharyas who spread this message, who sacrificed their lives, are portrayed here. Here you can see Atisha. There is a life of Atisha that is depicted on the walls of a monastery in Netang in Tibet. This is 1,000 arm of Lokiteshvara. In Rig Veda, in Purush Sukta, there is a description of a power that is called Sahasrashesha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad, that he has 1,000-fold power to save the humanity. And this concept led to creation of thousands and thousands of paintings and sculptures all over Asia. This is. And also, you study Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna was not ready to accept the message of Krishna. Then he showed that he emerged in a colossal form. Virat Sarup he showed, so that the idea of Virat Sarup has reached all these countries, and all over Asia you can see colossal images of many Buddhas and other deities. Here you can see Buddha Amitabha from Kamakura in Japan. Power. Shastre cha kaushalam. One needs knowledge, but one needs power also. Shastra and Shastra both are required in this life, and that the concept has gone to many countries. In Japan, they call it Shastre cha kaushalam, Kenzen Ichi. And again, I'm not going into the details. Here, this is Ushnish Vijayadharani. People have gone into the refuge. People have gone for refuge to temple and chanting of mantras, performing of rituals whenever they had problems. It has happened again all over the world. You have again hundreds of examples I can give you. I was talking about Ushnish Vijayadharani. This is the goddess representing a dharani, a mantra that is written on the Great Wall of China, that was written in 1333 and still exists there. Thousands of people every day go to visit the Great Wall of China, but nobody is there to tell them. There is a mantra that is meant for the protection of the country. So the spiritual path is used for secular needs, sacred paths. The spiritual path is used for secular needs all over the world. When we sit for puja, when we sit for offering prayers, what we do? We offer 5 things: Pushpa, Dhupa, Deepa, Gandha, and Naivedya. So in China, they gave it a beautiful form. Here you can see a goddess flying from heaven to offer a garland to the divine being. How these hundreds of gods and goddesses were assimilated, just to give you an example, how the mandalas are formed, because mandalas are formed for meditation, to reach, to go into samadhi, to start from the lowermost level of our life and slowly go up and up and up and up and finally merge with the ultimate. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudichyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. We get birth from there, that is Purna, and that remains Purna even after giving birth to so many Purna. So now how beautifully how beautiful is the creation of their artists. This is Chandrama, this is moon, and this is sun. And the seed syllables for Chandra and moon, Aditya, A and Cha for Chandra, they are also, seed syllables are also for worshipping. So that is why A is placed on a lotus and surrounded by a halo, and similarly it is done with Cha. Look at the beauty. Look into the eyes of Chandra moon. So just to give a view of how temples are built in Thailand, different types of temples. This is one style. This is another style. There are so many styles. And inside, because it is a Theravada country, so they have only Buddhas. So here you can see the lines of Buddhas here, and different poses of Buddha. Here is a Buddha's in the lying down when he had entered into the final nirvana. How huge is this sculpture? It was so difficult to take a picture. I tried hard to take it, but was very difficult, but still whatever I could bring for you to show the beauty of the temples, how they are decorated inside, and what kind of themes are used. My focus is on the themes. Here you can see Indra sitting on Airavata. Here you can see a Siddha. It is a yogi, because yoga also went to many countries, and still people are so passionate about learning yoga. So Siddhas in different postures. 84 Siddhas is a very famous group, but there are different groups in different countries. Here you can see one picture from Thailand. This is Wat Arun. Wat Arun is the temple of Surya, the rising sun, and how it is decorated. And this is Amitayu, because in life, we need so many things, and whenever we need something, whenever we are in the need of something, we follow the path of spirituality, and this is done by all these countries. This is a statue from of Amitayus holding a vase of nectar. Another form of sacred spiritual art is the illustrated manuscripts. So again, so many manuscripts are discovered in so many languages, in so many scripts. This is a savior who is coming down to bring the soul of a dying person. See, interesting thing is that he is bringing a lotus seed, but it is empty, because he has to, this is meant for the soul of the dying person who has to travel with him to the heavenly abode. Calligraphy became a beautiful art with mantras. When mantras reached China, Japan, Korea, and other countries, especially Japan developed it as a beautiful form of art, calligraphy, that is called Shittan calligraphy. Shittan means Siddham. Siddham means the Devanagari script, the script that is used for Siddhi, for attaining accomplishment, Siddhi. So, A is the beginning, as has been said by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, that I am the beginning of all knowledge. So A is the beginning of all knowledge. So the beginning of knowledge has to be divine, and this A is divine. That is why it's placed on a lotus and surrounded by a halo. But below you can see a Vajra that combines the power with virtue, with knowledge. Knowledge should have power. It is equally important in life. How beautifully the calligraphers are working. Here, those who are artists, they can realize that when a calligrapher writes any mantra or any name of a divine being, then it cannot be broken. The brush has to be dipped in ink only once to finish this. But in between, he wanted to show that Ganga is falling from the jata of Shiva, the hairdo of Shiva. So here he is giving a dry brush effect when his brush is full of ink. Again, you can see a full brush involved. So it requires meditation. It requires sadhana. Without sadhana, these huge pieces of calligraphy cannot be produced. I had invited a calligrapher from Japan, and he did so quickly, so fast, huge pieces, 6 feet, 8 feet like this, holding a huge brush in his hand and a huge pan of ink. And he wrote this. Vayu he had written for me, in front of me, huge piece, and you can see the upward flow of air in this, of Vayu, because this is Vayu. And there are so many forms of arts and crafts in these countries. This is one that is called Vayan. This is leather puppet of Hanumana. They do leather puppet shows, Vayan, quite famous. And also they make so many kinds of these pieces for using in the prayer. Different kinds of things are made by them, beautifully made. And with these words, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to talk to all the scholars, the friends, the family of Aurobindo Ashram and the enthusiasts. And here I end with this, that what we get from spirituality, that here is a bodhisattva showering nectar to the burning humanity. Here is humanity, and there is this burning passion all around. What we need is, we need a nectar. The humanity needs a nectar. So we need somebody to shower this. But from where will it come? It comes from our own minds. It comes from our own sadhana. So we have to be on the path of spirituality, of beauty. Only then we will have a world that will be beautiful to live. There will be no wars, no demeaning, no destruction, and people will be happy. The life will not be shattered. So let us go. To move on, let us learn. We need some inspiration. We need inspiration to learn this. And this inspiration comes when we celebrate like the life, the legacy of Maharishi Aurobindo. I'm sorry, I don't want to call Sri Aurobindo. For me, for everybody, of course, he is Maharishi. He's not just Rishi, he's Maharishi. The legacy that is left, that is our duty, that is our dharma to carry it forward and transfer it to the next generation. Otherwise, it will be lost. So let us be together. Sangat Chadvam Samvadadham Samvo Manansi Janatam, to make this world beautiful. Namaste. Dhanyavad. Thank you very much for joining and inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shashibala ji. You've taken us on this great journey, if I can call it, from Vietnam to Tibet to Indonesia to Cambodia to Japan and China and Afghanistan. I mean, you've covered so much ground in this, just a little more than an hour. So thank you so much. Much gratitude. And the pictures that you've selected, they are truly representative of this influence, this penetration of the India's message into all these neighboring countries. So really, you kind of given us that sense of one Asia, the one civilization that Asia has been.